Hello and welcome to Horror and Cats. I'm Smokey Lyle, and today we're going to be watching and discussing the brand new Prey, which is exclusively on Hulu. The purpose of the Let's Watch style video is directed toward people who have either already seen the movie and want to discuss it, or people who haven't watched it and, like me, have no one in their life who they can share their love of horror with, and they get bummed out watching their favorite genre's new classic B-movie or Lost Hidden Gems alone. So I'm here for you, kindred soul. We're going to watch it together and then talk it to death. So here's the synopsis. Prey follows the story of Naru, played by Amber Midthunder, a young Comanche gatherer with a hunger to be seen as a capable hunter just like her older brother. After a strange light in the sky and a mysterious unseen predator begins to stalk the land, Naru finds exactly what she was looking for in this threat, whether she was ready or not. Before we watch the movie, I want to drop a quick note about the cast as a whole. Every named actor in the billing I looked into who plays a member of the Comanche tribe is actually of Native North American descent. It's very cool to see this kind of thing becoming the norm rather than the exception when casting roles representing marginalized communities. This has relatively recently extended to other communities such as hearing or sight-impaired actors as well. Alright, I'm keeping the spoiler-free part pretty short because I'm excited to discuss without tiptoeing around the spoilers, so let's watch Prey. I'll see you in an hour and 40 minutes. It's Horror and Cats for a reason. I've got 5 of these things. Okay. Oh, welcome back. Pretty. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Pretty good movie, huh? I enjoyed every minute of it. The first burning thing I want to discuss is that familiar flintlock pistol bestowed to Naru by the short-lived ally Raphael. In the end, we see it's engraved with the name Raphael Adolini, just like the one given to Danny Glover at the end of Predator 2. Raphael's flintlock has a non-canon backstory in a comic short called Predator 1719, in which a pirate captain named Raphael Adolini faces off against not just the predator called Greyback, but also his own mutinous crew. In the end, dying Adolini gifts Greyback his pistol, which Greyback later gifts Danny Glover in Predator 2 as part of the film canon. Now, with Prey entering the Predator film canon, this third-party placeholder backstory has officially been eschewed and replaced. This does have some unfortunate connotation for our Comanche tribe, however. That pistol ends up back in Predator hands sometime between 1719 and 1997, the setting of Predator 2. Given the facts of Prey's events being the Yautja's first visit to Earth and that the hunter was ultimately killed, I'm convinced that it didn't take long for another hunter to come in search of the ultimate challenge and, since the pistol was in the tribe's possession, clearly had a successful hunt. This theory is cemented even further if you pay attention to that ledger art which plays behind the end credits. In the paintings, you can see something of a retelling of the film's events, ending with Naru and Good Girl Sari. Yay, the dog lived. I was kind of concerned about that. They return to the tribe with the head of the predator. After a brief apparent celebration, dark clouds appear and 3 celestial shapes emerge a split second before the screen cuts to black and resumes the credits in earnest. So yeah, she took out the first predator ever to land on Earth, and they sent an entire hunting party to Flex. A hunting party being 3 Yautja, according to what we learned in Predators, if you watched that. I cannot put into words how much I hope they don't make a direct sequel to this. I think the way the movie played out and the thematically and culturally appropriate extension of the story in that ledger art was perfect. I, of course, will watch the absolute pants off of a sequel, but they don't need to do it, and I honestly hope they don't. On to those mysterious orange Tutsia medicinal flowers, which played a weirdly large role toward the end of the movie as Naru's one and only utilized camouflage technique. When first introduced, I took it as something within the movie's canon which would serve to bring about the revelation that the Predator's vision is based on heat, But when it turned out to be the linchpin of Naru's final battle, I was a little disgruntled, to be honest. The first thing I did after watching the movie was dig out my SOG tomahawk, whetstone set, and some paracord. After I got back from the hospital, the second thing I did was use my remaining fingers to Google what was up with those flowers. As it turns out, calendula flowers, commonly known as marigolds, were used to slow blood flow and break fevers in the Civil War. The effects seem to be exaggerated in Prey, going so far as to drop a person's body temp all the way down to that of their surroundings, but that little nod to a real-world medicinal solution to the Predator's thermal vision earned a tepid, cool, from me. One of the things I ask myself before complaining too hard about media is, as someone who one day hopes to create in the horror sphere, could I have done it better? In the overwhelming majority of times, the answer is no, be it due to resources, time, experience, skill, all sorts of things. So you won't find many, if any, angry rants on this channel, because if I don't believe I could have done it better, honestly, I don't believe I have a leg to stand on as far as hardcore complaints go. Plus, I come from this genre from a place of admiration and love. I'll never make one of those everything wrong with blank videos, because I don't want negativity to be my buy-in to the horror community. Anyway, I applied the question to the flower and, as usual, arrived with confidence to the conclusion I could not have explained it any better. Early on, she says it cools blood. Later on, it cools blood. Pretty much spot on, and has the bonus of being based on a real flower's exaggerated properties. We've had multiple Predator films where mud is the secret weapon, so I understand wanting to do something new. Maybe I'm in the minority not knowing about the flower's use as medicine in the old days and am projecting my oblivion. I don't know. That's kind of my point. It was nice to see the subversion of expectations to have Naru trapped in quicksand emerge nearly 100% caked in mud, and then nothing happens. I was scratching my head because as soon as she fell in, I leaned in. I was like, oh yeah, this is when she's going to find out that mud is the secret weapon. But that wasn't the case, and it ended up working out fine. I think it worked out fine. I'm glad the mud pit did end up serving a purpose, though, not just subverting the expectations. It would have been a little out of place if nothing came up with the quicksand. This Predator, dubbed the Feral Predator by director Dan Trachtenberg, is probably the most versatile single Yautja we've ever seen. I know there was a healthy arsenal used in Predators and Predator 2 as well, and I haven't watched either of those since watching Prey to count just how many gadgets are used, but my gut tells me the Feral Predator is rocking the largest toys to hunter ratio so far in the films. He's got a dope shield, a dope laser-guided triple bolt launcher, a dope and frankly terrifying wire net, which has been used before, but this one really took the cake in making me pull this face when he used it. He had that triple laser mine thing that seemed like a hilarious level of overkill. There was also that splitting telescoping spear, which is called a combi stick, and his wrist blades, which aren't new, aside from the spear affording the dual-wielding option that he used. Finally, he had a mini version of the Prince of Persia's dagger-tail chain whip from Prince of Persia 2 Thrones, apparently. It was that little knife-turned slap band, which broke him out of the bear trap at the beginning of the trapper ambush scene. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure him using the bear trap to snap that guy's face off is the first time a Predator has used a human weapon on a human in the films. He also used tomahawks, I believe, in the fight with the 3 Comanche warriors, which was a neat little addition. Usually the Predators are very cool and collected, and they use their own equipment. But this one lost its temper a couple times, got impatient a couple times. So yeah, Feral Predator, I think, is a good name for this one. Talking of snapping people's faces off, the violence in this movie was delightfully animated and choreographed. I wish they would have put a little of that panache into the animated wolf and bear, because they got a little silly looking at times, but I definitely couldn't have done any better, and they didn't look bad by any stretch of the imagination. It just seemed a little out of place with how beautiful everything else was. Now let's talk a little about the cast. Amber Midthunder plays the lead Naru. She is probably best known for either her role in Roswell, New Mexico on the CW or Legion on FX, but she has been acting for over 2 decades, including a lot of one-off TV episodes, short films, and minor film roles. I personally had never seen or heard of Midthunder until watching this movie, and I was blown away. I think she guides the character through her arc perfectly. 11 out of 10. On to Dakota Beavers as Naru's brother Tabe. Believe it or not, this is Beavers' first acting role ever. That being said, he's no stranger to performing, as he has been a rhythm guitarist and lead vocalist in Sheridan Hill, a Beavers family band consisting of Dakota, his father Lance, and his brother Dylan. He has been performing with the band since the age of 13. Surprisingly, Beavers is only 22 years old, making him younger than the 25-year-old Midthunder portraying his younger sister in the film. And he doesn't look anywhere near that age. He looks very mature. All in all, did a great job and was actually the star player in what ended up being my favorite scene in the movie. I'll discuss that a little later. So, Dane DeLigro as the Predator is new to the business, but he's already cranking out monster roles due to his muscular build and 6'9" height. He's been monsters in Netflix's Sweet Home. He played Baal in American Horror Story's episode of the same name. He was unidentifiable as a zombie in The Walking Dead and began his acting career back in 2019, Sweet Home being the first role. He was evidently a pretty big deal basketballer in Italy and Israel. I could regurgitate what I read on that, but I do not have any interest in professional sports, and if I tried to speak to his career, my ignorance would almost certainly be glaring enough to insult people who do follow them. So if you're interested, his info isn't too hard to find. Also counted among the cast is the dog that has a habit of just bouncing from a scene and returning unceremoniously at what felt like odd points. Well, Coco the dog is a period-appropriate, or at least theorized to have been period-appropriate, breed known as a Carolina dog. You may think the breed is familiar. I sure did. Immediately thought of the dingo in Australia when I saw her. Well, after looking into it, Carolina dogs are also known as American dingoes and can even be found in feral populations to this day. Coco was adopted specifically for the movie and was apparently the most adorable, lovable effing nightmare to work with. Missing marks, ruining shots, getting the zoomies on set, high energy and low attention span seem to summarize the horror stories told about Coco on the set of Prey. Despite it all, Midthunder being the actor most on screen with Coco and Dan Trachtenberg being the dog's exasperated director, still love Coco despite, if not for, all of her buffoonery. Honestly, she sounds like my dog Jughead Jones, deeply sweet and lovable, but crazier than a soup sandwich. I unfortunately can't find anything about where Coco ended up after filming. I'd love to believe Trachtenberg kept her as a personal pet because he described her as a dream outside of filming. If you happen to know where Coco ended up, I'd be thrilled if you tip me off in the comments. Well, that's about it. I suppose I'm supposed to say like and subscribe like everyone else, but it honestly seems like YouTube's version of Thoughts and Prayers, barring some truly unique scenario wherein this is somehow literally your first interaction with YouTube. You know, the location and function of all the little buttons on your screen, so press them if you like, when appropriate. If this is the first video you've ever watched on YouTube, hi Dad! So, I hope you enjoyed this, and let me know in the comments what your favorite scene from Prey is. Mine is the scene where Tabe goes absolutely buck wild on the Predator. Because he was riding a horse? Buck. Well, that scene showed just what a capable fighter Tabe was, and had great choreography. And the fact that the scene culminates with Tabe sacrificing himself and giving Naru the words she needs to bring the fight home cemented it for me as my favorite. Now, brush off that Netflix subscription because in my next video, we will be watching Netflix exclusive Hush, starring Kate Siegel and directed by her husband, Mike Flanagan, one of my favorite directors. See you next time. Dun, dun, dun 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 dun.